bring in Sean Salisbury, the great morning host, Sean Salisbury Show on Sportstalk 790 in Houston. Somebody's got to win the NFC East, right?
Dan, you're giving those numbers out like it's a team I quarterbacked. Sean Salisbury's 4-11-1 team makes the playoffs. It is, and every one of them's got something to like, but a lot of them got something to hate and a whole lot to dislike. I know McLovin is loving it, the fact that his team could very well, like you said, host a playoff game. But my gut tells me just a hunch that there'll be an early out. Okay, just a hunch.
I know, but it's always weird like that, Sean, where we go, that team, somebody is going to have 10 wins and be on the road in the playoffs to face the Eagles or the Giants or Washington, Dallas, whoever it might be. And strange things happen when you get to the playoffs because that team that struggled just to make it to the playoffs as opposed to that team that goes, okay, we're going to be a wild card team. And, those teams are dangerous. It's like Seattle many years ago when New Orleans had to go to Seattle, and Seattle won with a 7-9 record.
That's exactly right. And I remember there was talk all over the country. How in the world do we reseed? We got to start to change this. We can't have the Seattle Seahawks host the game. And Dan, it is because you get to the point. It's like that injury, or when we saw the Jordan situation when he was not feeling well. You kind of take pressure off yourself because nobody expects you to win. Think about if Philadelphia or the Giants are hosting a playoff game. Everybody in the world is going to say Vegas. They're going to put the line out there. So as a player, you kind of take pressure off. You let it rip. You cut it loose because everything's a bonus. And then they do become dangerous. And they've been under that struggle all year, so they know what adversity looks like. And then they have a chance to overcome it. And you never let a team hang around, and teams like that hang around late in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Then all of a sudden the favorite starts to look around and say, maybe we're not that good, and you end up losing. And it does happen, and you're right, that 7-9 Seattle team took care of their business at home against New Orleans.
And also the difference, though, this year is there really is no home field advantage, so that'll be beneficial for the team traveling. Why is the national media fascinated with Carson Wentz?
Good guy, not a self-promoter. I was thinking about this the other day, Dan. If any other quarterback, or most, should I say, he wouldn't be playing most of the time. Now, the fact that they have a backup who's a rookie, who we know is a winner, but you paid him a lot, and Carson doesn't really bother anybody. Dan, what's not to like? He came in as the underdog. Remember, even though he's a high draft pick, comes out of North Dakota State, so he's kind of like, small school guy. So you kind of root for that.
But why did they draft Jalen Hurts? Why did they draft him?
Well, why would you got the Redskins or the Washington football team now. You take Robert Griffin and DeShanahan, Mike liked Kirk Cousins as well. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We draft 2 linemen. Why the hell can't we draft 2 quarterbacks? So to me, it's –
But a second-round pick, though, that you use, right?
Dan, I'll tell you why. Because that ought to tell you how they feel about him. They didn't draft him to move him to slot or wide receiver or running back. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, and I think he proved by going to Lincoln Riley that, we know he's a winner. It's Alabama under the Saban umbrella. Well, he goes to Lincoln Riley, and boom, he proves that he can still win and still throw it. I actually love the draft pick because it's either going to bring out the best in Carson Wentz or, unfortunately, whether it's Jalen Hurts or not, bringing out the worst. I did think Carson's a good guy people root for, but he's missing easy throws. The mechanics are horrendous, and it seems to me like he's always a split second late. And when you're not pulling the trigger on open throws, then that's a problem. I will not be shocked if this continues, that if Jalen Hurts doesn't get legitimate run. And I root for Carson Wentz like everybody else does, but he's not above criticism. He is not playing good football.
Would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Carson Wentz?
Right now, the way it plays, it's not even close. You'd rather have Baker Mayfield. Now, if you told me, Sean, Carson Wentz is going to get that swagger or that feel back that he had when he got hurt when they went to the Super Bowl, that I'm going to get that Carson Wentz, well, then I'm taking that Carson Wentz. But Dan, sometimes you hit the yips, like, whether it's putting or whether it's throwing the football, or me, when you have the yips in an entire 10-year career that you just try to fight through it, right, it's hard to overcome. And he's in a very difficult, intelligent, passionate football town. And when that stuff starts to creep in, it's tough to get it out. Regardless of what he says, he's not bothered by the trade talk. No human being can't be bothered. So I personally, today I want Baker Mayfield because he's got a winning team. He's starting to feel it. If you told me I was going to get the old Carson Wentz, well, I'm taking the old Carson Wentz. Right now, it's a no-brainer. I'm not sure I'm not taking Jalen Hurts over Carson Wentz the way he's playing right now.
Sean Salisbury, morning host of the Sean Salisbury Show on Sports Talk 790 in Houston, of course, former NFL quarterback. What is the difference with Deshaun Watson in the last 6 games?
A big part of the question going in for me, Dan, and I think a lot of people wondered, what will Deshaun Watson do when he loses the crutch to lean on in DeAndre Hopkins? Well, we've seen it. Their passing offense has not suffered. Matter of fact, he's gotten better. I always had a problem with him. Enormous talent, great player, the hero syndrome, that he wasn't willing not to make every play. And the best quarterbacks I've ever been around know when throwing it out of the back of the end zone, when not to take a sack. Now, I don't want to teach the hero part out of him, but the last 2 weeks I've watched him, one time 2 weeks ago in the red zone, scrambles out, not there, throws it out of the back of the end zone. The Watson I saw in the past would have tried to make some spectacular play, and he's used to 2 or 3 clunkers a year where it's like, what are you thinking? He hasn't had one of those this year. The distribution of the football, I think he's confident with Tim Kelly. And this is on a team when they're not playing well. If their situation was reversed and they were 7-4, he'd be in the MVP talk. He's having a marvelous year, but it's his ability to know when to throw it away. He's making the simple play, the big home run, Dan, the grand slam's always there. He's learning better how to hit singles. The flat's open. Get it out now. Don't pass up an open receiver to hope that you got a home run. And in the process of his unbelievable ability, the home run's coming. So, and they push the ball down the field, and he's taken calculated, smart chances. And he's maturing. Good gracious. He's had another coordinator. So he's starting to settle into the position on a team that isn't real good. And they're allowing him to set his feet because even though they don't run it well, the offensive line does pass protect well. He's going to be an MVP guy for a long time, and he makes people around him better. And he's also making himself better by knowing when to throw the ball away and that you can't make every play.
And I wonder, and I've always felt that he held on to the ball too long, and you're
no
right.
Question.
And,
yep,
yeah,
no question.
And the smart ones, they get the ball away to live to see another day. But I'm also curious, has Eric Bieniemy, like it felt like Romeo Crennel might get this job somehow because, right, during this pandemic and trying to get candidates in and whatever it might be, if you're Eric Bieniemy and Houston's open, the Jets probably is going to be open, maybe the Bears will be open. I mean, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 openings here. If Eric Bieniemy is who we think he is, offensive-minded, would you rather go with Deshaun Watson with what you've seen or go to the Jets with, you're going to get Trevor Lawrence? Would you go to Jacksonville with Justin Fields? Would you go to Chicago with whoever?
I always want the proven elite quarterback that's young as opposed to the what might be. Remember, Sam Darnold was supposed to be that guy. And unfortunately, he's been coached poorly. So while Trevor Lawrence is what we call generational, it seems like every year, though, a generational guy's coming along.
But how is Sam Darnold coached poorly? I mean, Adam Gase came out and said, look, I made a mistake. How do you?
Well, I don't like the way they go about their business offensively play calling. I just don't. I could, Dan. If we were sitting at a show in an hour and we could talk about it. And I'll tell you what. Let's face facts. Darnold's not above this criticism. He forces too many balls, and part of being a great quarterback. And you mentioned like in Mahomes and Rodgers and Watson hold the ball to him. Those great ones throw the ball away and know when not to take a sack. Darnold's idea is my arm's so good. We're on 0-11. Let me take another shot. And he did it at SC. He just had better players at SC at times. So I think coached, but I don't think Darnold's made the progress necessary. Look at Lamar Jackson's growth before this year. Look at what Josh Allen's done. So coaching does matter, but you've got to process the information. But back to, if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I don't want to take, well, what if Trevor Lawrence is good? Well, what if, and he may be spectacular, or what if, Fields is spectacular? I got a 25-year-old making $40 million or close to it a year, who's on a bad football team that loads you on his shoulders, has proven it. He's got national championship, that type of DNA, and everybody loved. There's nothing he can't do. Why would I? The only thing for me is, are you concerned about the consistency and the commitment of the ownership? Because if you're just talking quarterback, I'm not taking the one that could be. I'm taking the one that is. And Deshaun Watson's one of the 5 best at his position in the league, and he's showing it week to week.
What's the local reaction to John Wall for Russell Westbrook?
Lateral move. I think people here feel like you lost an all-around better player, but you got better as a team. And Coach Silas said yesterday, Dan, in his presser, and I was listening to you earlier talk about how the chemistry is going to work, and they were talking about fit, and he said, well, it's going to be interesting. It'd be great when John Wall pushes the ball up the floor like he's done in his career and gets the ball to guys on the wings. And I'm thinking, is James listening to this? That John Wall's going to be pushing it? But I think fans, we didn't want it to change. And we know that when James wants a change, that it happens as well every year. You're on a 1-year contract when you're a star that comes here. But, hey, this franchise was stagnant. Getting to the playoffs wasn't enough. Why not try something different? And there's a lot of ifs, Dan. If Boogie Cousins is healthy, if John Wall's healthy after being out 2 years. So I think the fans here are ready for it. And I think that I honestly don't think that it was a big deal for them. Oh, we lost Russ. It's like, oh, well, we still got James. We got some new ones, got a new coach. Let's see how this one works. And we'll see what John Wall's bringing after 2 years of being out. But he looks explosive in some of his workouts, but lateral move for most of the people here.
But if it's true that James Harden preferred John Wall, can he say that you get rid of Westbrook and then James Harden still wants out? Like, why am I don't give a damn what James Harden wants. I have to look at what's good for the Rockets. If James doesn't want to be there, I don't care if you like John Wall or not.
And I'm hoping that Coach Silas has this. It's one thing to we know about catering to superstars, and there's no sport in the world that caters to their stars more than the NBA. But I can tell you this, I'm hoping that Silas says, as he mentioned, I'm going to give him his space, but we're going to run the offense like I want to do it, and we're going to try to maximize everybody's ability. I'm with you, Dan. Nobody other than LeBron James, I'm telling you, nobody on a professional NBA franchise has more pull or has had more pull with when the flight charter leaves to go on a trip than James Harden. LeBron and James in that order as far as pull within their organization. Well, Daryl Morey's gone now. They haven't won an NBA title. So I think people are starting to wear thin on great offensive player, great player, but I don't care either. You're either going to buy in or we're going to move you. And if you don't want to be here, I can get a bunch of assets for you. So we'll see what James Harden shows up. You know he's going to score, Dan, but after a year, does that mean John Wall's gone next year? So it's getting to the point now where people are growing a little tired of it because everything's James wants, James gets. How about returning that with enjoying it, getting in, following suit, and putting a ring on somebody's finger? People here aren't sure that's going to happen.
Have a great weekend. Always great to talk to you, buddy.
Great to talk to you too, buddy. Thank you for having me.
That's Sean Salisbury, morning host of the Sean Salisbury Show, Sportstalk 790 in Houston.